Well, ladies and gentlemen, look who we have here. Amelia Tyler, the narrator from Baldur's Gate 3, baby. How are we? Thank you for
Hi,
coming on.
thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been really cool. I've been watching your interviews with some of the other cast members, and it's been awesome to like get to know them more in depth. Because Neil Newbern I've known for years and years and years. So I already kind of have a good grounding on him. Like Dev, I've not met. I'm really looking forward to Jennifer English's one because we've known each other sort of on the peripheries of social circles for years. And we played mother and daughter in something. So we've done a
Really?
scene together, like actually in the
Wow.
booth together. But we don't like know each other.
Yeah.
So it's been really interesting getting to know her through interviews and being like, oh, we could actually be mother and daughter. We're very similar in a lot of ways.
Oh,
Yeah. So thank you for introducing me to some of my castmates that I've not met yet.
my pleasure. Um, how has it all been for you? I mean, this is crazy because you must just be on cloud nine. I can't imagine.
I'm good to swear, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's been fucking mental, mate. I don't think I quite processed what a big deal this would be until a
Yeah.
week after it came out. I was like, oh, this is happening, huh? Like I knew it was big and I knew that I had a significant role in it, but the reaction to it, like when they first announced that there was going to be a female narrator and they, released the scene with the little brain puppy, I was kind of expecting a bit backlash, the internet to do what the internet
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
And the reaction has been so overwhelmingly positive. Like I wasn't braced for that. I was braced for the other thing, the shit thing,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So to have all these people just being nice to me, like nothing in my upbringing has programmed me to deal with that in any way whatsoever. So I've just been sitting here just like giggling quietly into my hands, not sure how to handle any of this. Hence the outtakes, I guess. That lets me go, this is the real me. By the way, if you're okay with that, that's please don't think that this omnificent being, see, there's me cramming two words together that don't exist into a whole brand new word. That's what my life is now. Yeah, I kind of like that I've got to show the real side of myself, and people seem to like that, which is great.
Was that always the plan, doing those outtakes?
No, no,
No.
God. Like, because I've been recording them all from home, I was the only actor who recorded away from the main pit stop recording area.
Yeah.
So I have a studio at home and I recorded all my narration from there. So I had all the files on my PC, and we got to, when was it, like 2021, like in January maybe. And I said to the people at Larian, I was like, am I okay to like release these at some point? And they went, yeah.
That's so cool.
Are you sure? and I was trying to be so proper about it and go through,
Yeah.
Oh, of course, I'll send them to you beforehand so you can give me the nod or you can tell me to change edits. And they just went, no, we trust you. Like, oh, fuck. Like, I'm a first child. Don't say that. That's but it's been so lovely of them to let me do that. Not just from a
not everyone would let.
Creativity point. No,
Yeah.
Oh God, no. Like most places wouldn't at all.
No.
But that just kind of feeds into everything we already know about Larian, right? They're like that, and they get the sense of humor. There's a reason I love working with them, because they're special. And I don't mean that in the kind of the pat on the head way that the narrator would say about certain players. Like they're
no, they're actually very
yeah.
special. Yeah, and I think they're really getting their flowers now, the team, after this game, which is great to see. And did you expect the amount of viewership for those videos on TikTok and YouTube?
No.
And everything?
Like the first one, I put one of them out on my Twitter back in 2021, I think it was. And, a couple of hundred people were just like, oh, that's funny. And then we came up towards release, and I just thought, oh, I should put these out properly, put them on my YouTube or something, put them on TikTok, see what happens, because I've been given permission, so I might as well. I've got 3.5 years worth of footage. I might as well do something with it.
Yeah.
And I put it out in the most stupid way possible, like in the middle of the night after I finished an edit, like bleary, covered in Red Bull, just like, that'll do. Expecting
That's the best
nothing.
way.
Yeah. And I've done no promotion apart from tweet going, there's a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what has happened or how that's happened or what sacrifice I made to the almighty algorithm, but apparently people like them, and it makes me really happy, because that's the side of recording we don't really get to show people, that the flubs in between takes. Occasionally in movies, especially back when it was DVD or something, you get the outtakes or the the blooper reel, but this is a whole different level of
no. And I never see this sort of content for a game.
No. It's it's time consuming, maybe that's why. But I really like editing them. Editing is my zen. I've got no formal training whatsoever, but I really enjoy putting that together, and like all the captions and things that pop up and jiggle about and stuff. That's all me as well. That's me just like trying to zone out of my real life for a bit and just focus on something practical, so my brain doesn't explode.
How long does one take?
Oh, I couldn't answer that question.
You got to sift through all this footage.
Yeah. I mean, a long time. A long time. And I'm a picky bitch, so a long time. There'll be like one clip. I'll have the whole thing rendered out, and I'll listen to it the final time before uploading, and I'll be like, that one's in the wrong place. Got to switch those two. Bollocks. Go back and do it all again. I don't know if it's an ADHD thing or an anxiety thing or something, but that's how creativity has always been for me. I feel when it feels right, when it's ready for me to wave goodbye and just send it out into the world.
So have we got one editing now?
We've got several editing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I think at the moment in the reels, I'm up to midway through 2021. And we were recording right up until the summer. So, and there are 4 or 5 edits in progress on my timeline. So there'll be more. a lot more probably.
They're so funny too. I think that's what people love. I feel like you pick the funniest parts.
Nobody wants to hear me like coughing or like snorting.
Well, you never know.
But genuinely, there is so much to pick from, because I had a few different directors, but there were a couple in particular that we would just get in that rhythm of stupidity. Like Josh and Kirsty, we just went off on one.
God, that'd be
Josh
fun.
Particularly, I don't know what happens when we get in a room together. And the weird thing is, it doesn't affect the word count.
Really?
It doesn't slow us down at all. It just makes the creative process, this is going to sound so wanky, it makes the creative process so much more fluid. Why am I using that word? I don't know. But that's how it feels.
Interesting.
We get into that rhythm, and because we've got the silliness, we can hop, because the narration, I don't know if you've seen in the playthroughs that you've been doing, but there are some very distinct differences in narration depending on how you're choosing to play and who you're choosing to play as.
Well, there's 16 versions, right? I heard you say. Yeah.
16 different versions of the narration, not 16 different reads of the same script,
the same thing. Yeah,
but it's like if you're playing as a Astarion, you will have a slightly different narration at certain points from if you're playing as Shadowheart or if you're playing as Dark Urge or any of the characters. So,
and do you tap into their personalities?
Yes, very much so. Very much so, especially towards the end, when I started having to do Karlach stuff, I didn't know until that point, until they played me a clip of her, because I like to get into that rhythm. So I'm not doing an impression. I'm just getting into the rhythm of how they speak and how they think, and then their narrator echoes that just slightly. But I didn't know until that point that it was Samantha Bayer. And she came out, and Sam and I've known each other for ages. And I was like, oh my God, that's so great.
Wow.
I got very excited that day. So narrating for Karlach versus narrating for Lae'zel or Shadowheart, it varies wildly in tone.
Yeah, especially the Dark Urge. I think you had fun with that.
I had so much fun with that one. I've been going through like a little mischievous imp, just poking all my really nice friends and forcing them to do Dark Urge playthroughs so that they can see the sick, twisted bitch that lives in my head. Just like, let me do this sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't tend to play classic baddies. I tend to get cast a lot in roles
charismatic characters, don't you?
Yeah, charismatic, but like people who on the surface you meet them for the first time, you go evil, stereotypically evil. And then the more you get to know them, the more you realize there's light and shade there, and there's rationality and morality and so much more depth there. It's very rare that I get to play like out and out just this person is atrocious, and I've done it twice this year, and it's so much fun.
Who were you playing in? I saw a clip of you on your YouTube, I think it was, of you doing a motion capture scene from years ago. What was that character? That seemed like a villain.
That was actually from a training course that I did, where they just give us a script and go, record that to get something filmed.
Right.
And I'd never played anything like that character at that point.
We couldn't tell. I'll tell you what.
That was a heads up for me, actually.
Really?
I recorded that scene and I was like, this feels like home. Weird. And I think a lot of my career, performance-wise, has been me slowly coming to terms with the fact that my casting bracket is powerful women. People who have like a little bit of they're outside the norm, and they have a slightly outside view of human morality. Because when I was growing up, I was like dark hair, green eyes. All the kids thought I was a witch. How did that work out, kids? It turns out children very perceptive. But back in the 80s, all female roles were like, if you were the heroine, you had blonde hair and you were very nice and very feminine and delicate.
You were being saved. Is that what you mean?
You were being saved, and you had a high voice, and it was everything I wasn't. I didn't see a representation of me on the screen.
I was going to say, who did you look to as inspirations?
Not many people, honestly. I mean, I remember seeing Ripley in Alien once I got a bit older.
She's a badass.
Like, yeah, that's cool. Lara Croft in Tomb Raider, when that came out, I was like, oh, finally. Just something. But the older I've got, the more I've kind of settled into this bracket and kind of made a little nest here, and now it's super comfy, and I've realized it's so much more interesting than trying to pretend to be somebody else, trying to just be safe.
Yeah.
And I'm getting cast in a lot of roles that are written for men initially.
Okay. Wow.
Where they've suddenly gone, oh, it's got a bit heavy here. We should probably get some, like, there should be a woman in a position of power in this movie. And so they've just gender flipped it. And they go, well, she's got a deep voice and she sounds commanding. She's good at battle shouts. We'll see what Millie does with it.
Yeah, right.
So it's always really fun bringing character to roles like that, where it could just be like a straight down the line badass, but I like to give it a bit more personality than that, I guess.
So have you felt like you've hit your stride the last few years? You feel like you're at your peak? Or is there peak? You're only going to just get better and better over the years.
I don't mean in the job sense. I just, the idea that where my brain is right now is my peak is just fucking horrifying.
Oh, don't be sad.
Yeah, it's been a weird few years. It's been a really weird few years. What it feels like is a transition. Between who I was before and a lot of the anxiety I held and trying to be what people wanted me to be, and relaxing into what I am. and seeing the value in that, and just kind of going, if you don't want to cast me, the gig's not for me. That's somebody else's exciting day. I don't see it as a reflection on me anymore.
How did you get to that point?
Kids. Yeah, therapy.
Was it therapy?
Lots of therapy.
Yeah. Because I know you were recently diagnosed with ADHD. I believe you shared that, yeah?
Yeah. Back in 2020, right before everything went to shit. Yeah, 2020 was quite the year. And I went through a huge amount of stuff. Like I had a breast cancer scare, diagnosed with ADHD, just like literally 2 days into titration for that. So they were starting me on medication for ADHD. And my dad had a stroke. My dad has been my rock for my entire life. So he had a stroke. And then off the back of that, it turned out he had terminal cancer. So I moved in with him and nursed him at home until he died, and was recording for Baldur's Gate during that, because my recording studio was at his place.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was a rough year. And I think this game kept me sane. It certainly kept my head above water. It paid for my ADHD diagnosis, and it paid for my therapy, and it meant that while I was going through the healing process that I needed to go through, I didn't have to worry too much, because I knew I had work coming in. For an actor, we don't really get that very often.
The assurance. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like we don't have pensions. We don't have a long-term plan. We just hope it doesn't all go to shit and try not to spend it all on shoes. I don't know. By the cheap mayonnaise. I don't know.
Yeah. And now you feel like you're on the other side of that. And
I feel like I get to pick what I take from my old life now.
Interesting.
I get to go, okay, that person and that person and that person, I'm bringing you with me. If, that a rising tide raises all vessels thing. Like if there are people that I love working with or role playing with, I don't care who they are or what their public persona, like what their reach is. I don't care if you're a streamer with a billion followers or somebody who never streamed in their lives. Like if we play tabletop together and I have a good time, I want to carry on doing that.
Yeah.
If you're an actor and we've worked together and I really enjoy that, like if there's some way I can help you, because I know how this industry is, it's rough and it's hard to get your foot indoors. I'm not really the kind of person who will ever give a compliment that I don't sincerely mean. I made a point of making that one of my personal rules years back. It stops a lot of bullshit.
Funny you say that, Neil. I remember Neil saying you are down the middle. You don't. There's no bullshitting with you.
Yeah.
I love that as well. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of it, and I think it contributes to a lot of the anxiety people feel in this industry, because if somebody's blowing smoke up your ass, that's not real friendship to me. Like unquestioning, unwavering support, I don't think is massively helpful. Supporting somebody, yes, but just going, everything you do is amazing and perfect, don't change at all, I don't think that's helpful. Like just giving perspective, but saying we don't have to agree. Like there are very few situations where I will put my foot down and go, like, I don't want to talk to that person. I don't want anything to do with you. And it's usually if they've done something really horrific. But I come from a psychology background. So I will always see people and interact with people from that position, because I was training to work with serial killers. So anybody else is kind of fine.
Yeah, can you share that? Can you share that? Because you originally, your mum was a voice actor, right? And you went in the booth. Can you share that story for us first?
Oh God, my mum was an actress for like stage and screen and whatever. And then when she had me and my sister, she started doing voice work, and she got, God, I was 5 years old. So this was 86.
That's crazy. Yeah.
She got a job just doing some radio commercials. And it was back in the days when you had to actually go to the radio station to do that. And she couldn't get a babysitter. So she took me with her. And
do you remember all this? Sorry to cut you off. Do you remember this clear as day, or is it still?
No,
it's a bit patchy.
I don't really have any memories from my childhood. There are reasons why I don't. But it's all PTSD stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she took me along to this session, and I'd been having lessons with her drama teacher for a couple of years at that point because I had a lisp when I was a kid, and it came out particularly when I was nervous, but it was really strong. And to this day, if I say the word lisp, I have to really focus on it to not say lisp. So when I'm taking the piss out of Catterick Thorn, I'm really mocking myself. It's fine. But yeah, so she'd sent me to a drama teacher to get rid of this lisp. And in doing so, the teacher was like, she's kind of good at this. Maybe she should carry on. So I'd just been, as you do when you're 5 years old, it's nothing too heavy, but like learning how to speak aloud and read things in a way that makes sense for a script. And she took me to this radio station. And they were like, we've got a Christmas commercial that needs a little kid in it. Can she do that? Because like this is what casting was back then. So they put me in the booth and I did it. And that was it from then on. Yeah, I just never stopped. I hit a phase at about the age of 12 or 13. I forget how old I was exactly. But your voice kind of crosses over to before that they want you to be a cute little kid and there's a lot of wiggle room for getting things wrong and just playing, and then they're like, no, we want you to advertise something, do this properly. And I remember really distinctly going to the recording session for my first advert like that and just emotionally destroyed by how badly I did.
Really?
Yeah. Like to the just in absolute floods at it because I didn't cope with failure very well. That was not an option available to me growing up.
That's so sad.
Yeah, so I was just like, what have I done wrong? I don't understand. And God. I got home and I, in traditional Millie fashion, was like, okay, I've got two options. I either run away from this scary thing or I sort this out. And every single day for the next 4 or 5 months after school, I would lock myself in my mum's recording studio and practice for at least an hour every single day. And then that was it. From then on, I worked all the way through uni. And when I finished uni, graduated with a psych degree and was like, this feels like a very dark path I'm treading. I'm just gonna do something a little lighter for a year and see if that still makes sense to me afterwards. And just never went back.
Right. So why did you go into psych versus continuing on with the acting side?
I wasn't really given a choice in a way because mum was an actress and she was like, don't you dare be an actress. You go to university and get an ology. She went Maureen Lipman on me. So it was partly that. Like I would have loved to go to drama school, but that just wasn't an option.
Even though you'd been doing it for years as a kid.
Yeah.
Really?
She wanted me to, I mean, part of it was her being a dick and part of it was just her being like trying to look after me long term because she knew it's a tough business. Yeah, it's rough and it's hard to make money and there's no security and it just destroys your self-esteem a lot of the time. Is the advice I always give to anybody. Like if there's anything else you can do that. And I think psych was my do that. But in a weird way, it's what's made me good. What a shit word. But it's what's made me the way I am now because I approach characters differently to other people.
It is a shit word, sorry, isn't it?
Yeah, good and nice. I can hear every English teacher I ever had at school just like, oh, what an insipid word.
I'm an abuser of it too. I need it. So you said you were going to, what was it about serial killers? You were going to...
I was training to be a forensic psychologist or psychiatrist.
Oh, so you weren't joking?
No. That was literally, I've got a BSc in experimental psychology. I was going to work with serial killers.
That's really dark.
Yeah.
Shit.
So I kind of in training for that, and it's a kind of chicken or egg situation, right? Like, do I find that kind of thing fascinating, and that's why I did the course, or did I do the course and that's how I learned to do the things I do? But I always approach characters in a way of like, nobody thinks they're the villain. Everybody thinks they're the hero.
Yeah.
So in order to play this character that is potentially villainous or does dreadful things, I have to figure out what the logic is for them, like how they think. And for me, when I get in the booth, it's not acting in the way that a lot of people see it. I think I have to understand how the character thinks. And the second, it's kind of more like role playing, I guess. The second I understand how they think, I can drop into that character, and it's almost like they're doing the session with me watching from behind, just like, okay, do that word slightly differently, pick up the pace on that bit. It's very freeing. It's like letting a different aspect of your personality out to play. And there are lots of parallels with therapy in that. It's really cool.
Have you always approached it like that, or is that something you've developed over the years?
Yeah, I think I have, but I've never thought about it until recently, because it came up in therapy. I was like, this is how I do it. And other people keep asking me, like, show me how you did this, this, and this. And I'm like, I can't. And a lot of things started to click into place when I realized that aphantasia was a thing. Because I didn't realize that people could, when they say, I picture it in my head, that they can actually picture things, because I've never been able to do that.
Yeah.
So when somebody describes a scene to me, if they're directing me, I'm not picturing that in my head. I'm feeling it. I translate what people tell me into feelings.
Interesting.
So I can't really verbalize how I do the things I do, because it's an emotion rather than a technical thing. It's very hard to explain.
No, I get it. I'm wondering, so you think the psychology aspects have seeped into your work in a good way, you would say?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I get cast as a lot of those kind of characters, like very morally complex.
Yeah.
Where you're never quite sure, like Malady in Divinity Original Sin 2, or Nerissa, Pathfinder Kingmaker, like these very, you want to think they're one thing, but then this little spark of something will come out triggered by a certain word, and then it's something different, and it's a real fleshed out person. And getting to the point that we're at in games now, where you get these cinematic performances, I love being able to be part of that and not having to overthink it, because you're just, it's a cliche, I guess, but it's reacting, not acting. I'm not pretending. I'm not trying to make you feel a certain way. I'm feeling a certain way, and you are watching it or hearing it.
Are you an overthinker?
Usually, yeah, big time. Used to be, trying not to be.
Yeah. And what about anxiety?
Massively. Oh, I've got all the fun shit, that like anxiety, depression, PTSD, CPTSD. It's yes, all the things.
And do they seep into the work? I'm curious.
They used to, when I was pretending to be something, when I was trying to make other people happy.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I still want to make the people that I work with happy. I want to do the job well.
Yeah.
But there's a certain anxiety I leave at the door now. And I don't know if it's age, just because I'm crumbly like rock now, or what, but
are you more confident now when you're in the booth? No, you're not.
In the booth, yes. In real life, no. God, okay. No.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you step in the booth, you become.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's an ADHD thing, honestly, because this is a piece of the puzzle I only put together recently. When I'm in the booth, there's nothing else there. It's like me and a script. I'm being told what to say, so I don't have to form a sentence. And there's somebody telling me what to do. And that's it. I hyper focus in my sessions.
Yeah.
Nothing else exists. So like, even the day after my dad died, I went in and did recording for Baldur's Gate.
Wow.
Because that was an escape for me. Like the Millie with problems who was grieving got to wait outside and just give me a bit of a break. And that wasn't them pushing. That was me just going, please, if this can be done now, like if you need it now, because we had something booked in, like I will happily do this now. I need this escape.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you remember that session?
Yeah. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it was great. It was because it's a relief. It's like somebody injecting you with painkillers or something just for
Therapeutic.
a couple of hours. Yeah, just like leave that just for a second, take a breather, be the confident version of you that has power and gets to just narrate this stuff and then go back out and deal with everything you've got to deal with.
Do you remember your last session doing the narrator? What was that like? Was it emotional? Was it?
I can't answer that question.
Okay.
It never ends is the answer to that, because every so often they'll be like, oh, this is missing a line, or this needs doing, or like, oh, that didn't get inputted. We need to, like, it
is a big game,
you know. Yeah, it's a massive game. And if anybody was following DOS 2 when that came out, like there were huge improvements that were made over the following year. So I suspect probably I'll be doing pickups for this for a little while at some point. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But I'd be surprised if something didn't come down the pipeline. So I always say hello and goodbye to my editor on the tapes. God, how old am I? But on the recordings, I'll always start off like, hey editor, how you doing? And say goodbye at the end of it. And the last few was just like, so apparently this is the last one. So bye, I guess. But I think we both know this isn't true.
Have you started to play yet? What are you?
No,
because I know you want to stream it, right?
I want to stream. I don't know whether I'm going to stream it or not. Do I have the balls to do that? Probably.
What's stopping you?
Right now, it's still very fresh.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of loving watching other people play, honestly. And for me, streaming is quite an anxious experience. I've streamed a couple of times before, but that was before I'd had shit tons of therapy. So it might be a different experience now that I've relaxed a bit.
I saw that your last time you streamed on your channel was like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I know you're on other streams, but as on your channel.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of what I'm like. I don't like being the center of attention. It makes me very uncomfortable. I've always referred to myself as a happy alto, like in a choir. Like I exist and I get the most joy from helping highlight how awesome other people are, as
That's
opposed
the same
to going,
as me,
it's
actually.
the me show.
Yeah, I'm very similar to that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense given what you're doing right now.
Yeah, I know, but I wonder where that comes from. Yeah.
I don't know, but that's always given me joy. It makes me feel part of something, and it's a connection with another person, which I really value. I grew up in the middle of the countryside with nobody to play with, so maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Even at Christmas, I get more joy of giving the presents. I know it sounds cliche, but everyone's probably like that. But than receiving.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. So I'm kind of like that with streaming. Like my other half, Jay, is an amazing showman. Like it's like watching a Victorian ringmaster come into modern day and just go, I'm doing a stream now. He's doing a million things at once.
He's tech savvy too.
He does it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, he had to be in our stream yesterday. Holy shit. That went wrong.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, he was doing like live tech support. He does this a lot.
That's all right.
But he worked in IT. It's fine. He's good at that sort of thing. But I am not. And so just learning what keys to press to make things happen is enough of a head fuck to really mess with my ADHD anyway. So doing that while on stream and having to constantly split attention between game and chat and remembering the controls, and like there's a lot of anxiety caught up in that for me.
No, I
think maybe I need to ease into it gently. I really want to do it. It scares me, and I think that's why I want to do it. I have a
you like the challenge.
Nasty habit. I don't like the part of myself that is scared. Or rather, I want to make it okay for that part of myself. And apparently the way I do that is to hurl myself headlong towards things that scare me.
So your partner, he's an actor as well. What's that like, two actors under the same roof?
Awesome and dreadful in equal measures. I think we're learning a lot about how to make that work. Because you see it all the time, right? People in Hollywood get together and then a year later they've broken up because, I don't know, some nonsense.
Yeah.
He has been the most incredible cheerleader through this process. And I think we've both got such different skill sets in a lot of areas that we are each other's biggest fans. Like, he's a parrot in a way I could never be. I have like 3 voices. And my entire career is that. Like,
I constantly you're more versatile than that. Come off it.
I've got a lot of emotional versatility, and I think that's the difference. Like, the majority, if you look at like Narrator, Malady, like they're me with
but they're so different, the characters. So you're right. It's an emotional thing.
Yeah. Whereas he can sound like so many different people, and I think both of us initially felt a bit like we were frauds for not being able to do the thing as easily that the other person could do. And we're slowly realizing through working together and living together that both of these things are insane and incredible and difficult. And we're both just constantly like, yay, you did a thing. It's a really cool, supportive environment, and he's awesome. Great.
You must be having fun with the cameo.
His name's Jay Britton.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Guys, make sure to go over there. I know you guys are you going to keep coming on his stream?
Yeah, he's for sure. Yeah, we're thinking of maybe we had 2 characters. Actually, we've got 4 characters actually that we've played in versions of role play before. That made it sound like a sexual thing. It wasn't. But we've got a couple of duos of characters that we played in either like tabletop or online role play. And we were thinking of maybe streaming Baldur's Gate as one of those combos. So we're either going to be
that's cool.
A dreadful, grumpy South African merc and a ridiculous pink fawn, or a very posh brother and sister who are just dreadful humans.
Oh, so we'll see. Sounds brilliant. Who got who into D&D?
D&D, neither of us really. My background was in other games, and I got into tabletop really, really late. So I was in my 30s already by the time I played my first game, really. I've played a whole bunch of different systems, like Vampire the Masquerade. I've played a lot of Song of Ice and Fire, the Game of Thrones game. Didn't play my first D&D until last year over on Ophelia's channel, which is where on my Instagram you can see pictures of me bright red with tiefling horns because I cosplayed for it, and then summer hit and I instantly regretted all my life choices because I had to paint myself red every single show.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
I did see that, but I didn't know you did it all the time. Shit.
Yeah, and what's even more dumb is because my sewing machine was broken, I didn't make gloves. So I would just paint my hands and then there would be little red handprints all over my house. I'm an idiot.
Oh, wow. That's commitment to the role.
But that's me. That's me. I love that kind of thing. I love going all out. Like, I have no shame when it comes to cosplay, and I don't need excuses to buy more wigs. I love that side of it. I love getting to play.
Yeah.
I desperately want to do more tabletop because I've been a narrator now. I'm not a DM, I'm a player.
Yeah.
I want to play.
What's your favorite wig that you've got in the collection?
Oh, can't pick a favorite. Oh, my babies. I would turn the camera if I could. I've got a wig wall.
Oh, do ya?
Yeah, that's and then so many more in box. Like, that's my ADHD dreadful spending habit.
Is it just all color? How much is a wig? A good wig?
It depends. They're not good wigs.
Is there such thing as a good wig and a bad wig?
They're, definitely.
Okay.
But they're hundreds and hundreds of pounds. They're super expensive.
Okay. Yeah.
Whereas these, I like to get nice ones, but that's debatable just because I've got a lot of hair and I don't want it to be uncomfortable or too sweaty.
Yeah.
But they're definitely not human hair wigs, let's put it that way. Like, I am flammable, highly flammable in every single one of them.
I'm sure there's a
But
few colors on that wall. Am I wrong?
oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
most of the ones on the wall actually are natural colors, apart from the absolute acid green one I wore for a sort of cyberpunky type show. That was really fun. But there are more plans coming, let's say, and I'm always on the lookout for new people to play with, because I love that about tabletop. You get to know people in a much deeper way than you normally would, because you're meeting them in different guises and different lifetimes and encountering experiences that you would never have in real life normally. So you get to know people on a much deeper level. It's really cool.
What would you tell people that are skeptical or haven't done it yet, and how would you ease them into it, would you say? Or do you think
I'd be brutal.
Yeah. It's not for everyone. I feel like you have to be quite creative as well. You know,
I find that the majority of people these days, especially, find the idea of it kind of intriguing. They find the role play aspect, like actually getting into a character, doing a voice or something, they find that quite intimidating. So in groups like that, I've always really enjoyed leading by example. Like, they didn't need it in this particular group, but I'll use it as an example of how little shame I have. I was in a long-running Song of Ice and Fire campaign, which is Game of Thrones universe, basically. And there were a couple of us who wore wigs and did the whole cosplay thing, but by the end of the season, the final season, like, pretty much everybody was just like in their normal civvies, and I was like, no, I will go all out, and I don't care that I'm the only one doing this now. This is how I enjoy playing.
That's good.
I kind of love that, though, like the no pressure aspect to some groups, because some people do it like a show where it's all for the audience. Some people do it more as a home game thing, and I kind of like a bit of both, really. But I like to show people that there's no shame in being the odd one out, because I always felt like that growing up. It's nice to just stand there being an idiot and being like, say, yeah, and you can't say anything to me that I'm not already saying in my head. You can't hurt me anymore. I'm doing it myself.
Growing up, you were a gamer, right? You've been a gamer most of your life?
It depends what you mean by gamer, and this is where I feel like a bit of a fraud. My dad got me into PC gaming, or the early days of, like, it wasn't even PC gaming, Commodore 64. We used to play like Treasure Island on that.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
So like real early days.
Yeah.
And then we had, God, what was it? Commodore Amiga. And we'd be playing like Battle Chess and Lemmings and stuff. But I didn't have a console. Yeah, Lemmings is great. And for a kid as well, that's such a cool problem-solving game.
Yeah.
I love when games can be multifunctional like that, where you don't realize you're learning. Trick you into understanding logic. But I didn't have a console at all. Until, God, mid-30s maybe.
PlayStation 3, or what are we talking?
I think so.
Yeah.
Is it a PS3? So I think it was a 3. But yeah, so I missed out on all that. You know, people have Mario and Sonic, and they've got a lot of nostalgia for that, and I just didn't have that. That didn't exist for me. So my thumbs are like two little, I'm going to quote, I think it's Yahtzee Croshaw now, like two little atrophied pork scratchings taped to my hands. Just pointless. Like, my controller control is non-existent. I am a mouse and keyboard girl.
Even to this day.
Yeah, I think that's something you have to learn in childhood, maybe. I don't know. Either that, or I'm just not putting my back into it. But
what are you playing the last 3 or 4 years? Have you been playing much? Because I know you're
I've
really
been playing
busy.
therapy the last few years.
Yeah.
I've almost hit the final boss. I honestly, I haven't had a lot of time to play the
No,
last
that's
few
what I'm
years.
saying. Yeah.
And I'm finally, I played a lot of like smaller games. I've really enjoyed Unpacking, actually. I played
It's a
that.
great game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The environmental storytelling in that is just so
Oh,
smart.
that is a great little game, isn't it?
Yeah. It's things like that have kept me sort of feeling like I'm not entirely out of the loop. But I've missed out on a lot of big releases, and I've missed out on a lot of very classic CRPGs, which makes me think I should probably stream them at some point. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe we'll do like Dragon Age or The Witcher or something.
Are they your bread and butter? Is that like a Assassin's Creed type? Is that what would be
Yeah.
your genre? Do you have a specific
Ooh.
genre?
I like anything with some really deep character development or puzzles or just dumb stuff I can play with friends. Like we had a lot of fun in Overcooked, me and Jay,
Oh,
or
I love Overcooked, but it causes a lot of
Power
fights
Wash,
over here
or
because I
yeah,
become the
that's
leader.
great.
I go, I need
That's
a
our whole
hamburger
thing,
now.
though.
I need you to
Yeah,
get on this tomato, please. Hurry up! And
yeah, it's an excuse to abuse your friends. That's the point of it. And that was always very much mine and Jay's relationship. Like we were best mates for ages before we were even together, and it was a very siblingy relationship, which is not as weird as it sounds.
Best friends,
But
yeah.
yeah,
I know what you
yeah,
mean.
but we had that very aggressive friendship, as are all my friendships, where we just constantly rip the piss out of each other.
Yeah.
That's my way of showing love, Eastern European heritage. Yeah, so that, like games like that, I love a puzzle game. Anything that's just shooty, I find a little tricky. I loved BioShock though, because that had the deep story behind it. Yeah,
2000,
the
when was
original The
that?
Last
Yeah.
of Us.
Yeah.
Like that blew my mind. That was the first one where I was like, oh, we're getting cinematic acting now. Oh, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah. Do you think it changed? Do you think the landscape sort of changed around that time?
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
Could
and
you
it was
feel
pretty
that
much
in the
spot on
industry?
that year. I wasn't in the industry at that point.
Oh, okay.
I haven't actually been voicing for video games very long.
Right.
Got lucky, I guess. Like Malady in Divinity Original Sin 2 was the role that opened doors for me. It was the first one where I really got to show people some of what I can do, or at least somebody saw what I really was. Josh, who you can hear me talking to in some of the outtakes, he's the one who cast me in that, and he's always seen me. I think we've been talking about maybe streaming together at some point. So he sees people, and that's what a really good casting director, or just director generally, that's part of what they are. That's the job, right? Because otherwise you're trying to find a voice that sounds vaguely right and cramming it into the shape you want it to be, rather than like, I see that in you, let's bring that out.
Do you think that's a difference between a good and a bad director?
Oh no, there are so many differences. To specifics at this point is very unwise, but you do get in sessions occasionally where people like give you line reads. That's always the big sin in directing. Like, you don't go say it like this and then make them parrot it back to you. And I've been in sessions before where somebody's parroted literally every single line, and I've come out just going, oh my God, am I shit? No. Am I really bad? Why do they hate me? That was awful, though. That sounded really bad. Did that sound? And then I've spoken to somebody else, and they're just like, no, that's just what they do.
Interesting.
I think it's just maybe inexperience on their part, or just that's how they communicate with people. But
yeah,
I think that's kind of part of my job as well. When you get in a booth with somebody that you're unfamiliar with, both of you are trying to find this way of communicating together that works for the two of you, and it's never the same twice. It's like having a different friendship. You might be laughing and joking with one person, but like really straight down the line and businesslike, and get out there with somebody else. And part of my job is to make that judgment about how somebody communicates, how they're feeling, how much time they've got, and give them what they want.
Well, I feel like you'd be a good director then.
You'd think. And yet, I don't know. I'm good.
Have you ever thought about it? Or voice
not
directing?
Seriously.
No.
Because I find it so hard to explain what I do. So I don't know if that would just be a really frustrating experience for somebody else. If I'm just like, I'll just feel like this. And they're like, I don't do that. You're weird.
Yeah,
Please.
okay.
Yeah.
I get that.
So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll try it. I've honestly got more respect for the people who do that professionally than to think I could do it. It's kind of like being a dungeon master, right? I'm playing one, but that's not my skill set. And it definitely isn't what my ADHD wants me to do. So I've had some really good GMs over the years, and I respect what they're able to do way too much than to even attempt that.
Did that experience help you with doing the narrator at all?
Yeah.
Because I'm curious, how do you approach?
Yeah.
Do you approach it per the 16, as you said, or is there a consistency across the whole thing that you're looking for as well? How does that work?
I wanted it to feel authentic. I wanted it to feel like something that someone who has been a dungeon master could listen to and be like, she understands me. Which is part of what's kind of come out in the outtakes, honestly. I think that's come out more in but just letting people paint pictures, because that's part of what it is. We never wanted to, because that's the big thing. Players start feeling very very disconnected and very abused when they're told what to do or how to feel. And we never wanted to do that unless it was out and out manipulation. Like, there are moments in the game when control is taken away from you. I felt like it was my job, because I've had some GM'd experiences that were not so great. And that is, I didn't want a player to feel that way. So I felt like it was my job to be like, control is being taken away from you and we know it. This is deliberate. Just go with the feeling. Like, experience what this is. It's deliberate. You'll get control back in a minute, but like right now you're out of control. Enjoy this sensation. The rest of the time we kind of we always described it like I'm behind them with my head sort of on their shoulder, just like tilting their head and going, look over there. But I'm their narrator. I'm not me telling them what to feel. I'm like, I've lived in your head all your life and I know how you think. And you're looking over there. It has to feel like I'm like they're rolling against me, but really I'm on their side. I'm there to facilitate their story, whatever they choose their story to be.
Well, I think this is one of the best narrations I've ever heard in my life. So I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, genuinely.
Thank you.
Seriously, it was really, really impressive. And we've got a few fan questions if we can go through a couple of those.
Sure.
Favorite voice line was one of the big ones that I know it's impossible to pick, but do you have any that stand out? Let's say that.
The authority lines, for sure.
It's funny you say that. This guy said, and why is it authority? Have Dan. Yeah, how funny
Amazing.
Is that? Yeah.
I really enjoyed that one. I wasn't expecting such a reaction to it. But the second people picked up on it, I was like, of course. I loved giving them that feeling of power, because it's that smile of like, because we go through life just feeling so at the whims of fate and out of control. And it was so nice. It was almost like a cat curling up, or like just nestling down and going, you can feel comfortable right now. You're in control. Like, who doesn't want to feel like that?
Was that the plan? Did you work with the director on that, or how did that come about?
It just happened.
It just happened.
Yeah. I mean, there was direction leading up to it, but that's kind of how Josh and I, particularly, he ran most of my sessions for early access, and that's where we started to find the voice of the narrator. We run these sessions like I will read the line just how it comes out of my head, and then he'll go, oh, but on this word you're feeling this, or you're just twisting this, or he quite often gives it physicality or something, some kind of feeling or a strange word that doesn't make sense, but we both know what it means. So yeah, it's really hard to describe.
It sounds symbiotic. That's the word.
Very much so. Yeah. And it feels so good. Like both of us know when we've got the right take, usually. Usually. Just occasionally I'm like, I wasn't feeling that. Can I go for another? And I'll do it. And he'd be like, I hope that felt good.
Yeah, we're going with the other one. No.
Yeah. But yeah, like all the directors were fantastic in different ways, but they made me feel comfortable in different ways, I think. And Josh and I just have this creative madness together that kicks off very quickly. Whereas somebody like Kirsty was so considerate of how I was feeling, like any tiny little cough, because I was doing lots of very growly stuff, especially towards the dark edge stuff. All I had to do was be like,
so good.
Be like, are you okay? Do you need a break? Oh my God, this is such consideration. I feel so special. But that's the kind of thing, I think, until you've been in a session that's run badly, you don't realize the value of somebody who thinks about you like that. Because we don't ever want to be a pain in the ass. We don't want to be homework for somebody or slow things down. So a lot of actors, I think, until they're really experienced, they push themselves too far. And even then, sometimes we push ourselves too far.
Yeah.
So to have somebody on board who is experienced and knows actors and knows the dumb shit we do, to just go, are you okay? Hydrate, please. That's invaluable.
Was he ever an actor?
Josh?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think see, the ADHD has removed this from my brain. I've got a vague memory of him telling me that he performed in some way at some point, but that might be somebody else. I know he's very musically gifted.
Interesting.
And a lot of the time, if somebody doesn't have an acting background and they go into the booth and they're good, it's usually because they get the rhythm of music. So maybe it's a music thing. You'd have to ask him, I'm afraid.
Oh, that's all right. That one was from, as we said, Tavdan, Euphoric Capital. One of the most requested questions out. So 187 says, what was the hardest line to record without laughing?
Anything to do with Shadowheart's box, usually. There were a lot, honestly. There were a lot. By the end, I felt a bit like the writers at Larian were testing me. Like they had to have at least one line in there that's let's see if we can break.
They're trying to
line.
break, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, let's talk about tugging on meat. No reason. And then see how she deals with that. It's,
you were up for the challenge, though. They didn't know.
Yeah, apparently so. Yeah. It was always fun to get to the end of a line and just pause and hold the laugh and see if Josh went first. Yeah, it was.
Anything with Shadowheart. Yeah,
because it was constantly talking about Shadowheart's box, and by the end, you're just like, we all. There were a lot of holes. There were a lot of double entendre ceased to have any meaning by the end, and I just felt like I was going slowly insane, which may well be true, honestly.
It helped, I think.
It certainly brought life to the outtakes.
Oh, I can't wait for the next video. Sudden Scientist 2937, not a question per se. I just want to say thank you for taking the immersion to the next level. That's it.
Aww.
I love that. Immersion to the next level. It's so true.
Thank you.
It just gives it that little bit extra that you don't usually get in some of these games.
I'm really glad that came across, because that's what we wanted to do. I think early access version was a little bit different, and we had that slightly sitting back, watching with a smirk. It was kind of a little bit Scar from The Lion King, kind of like, oh dear. And we kept that for certain bits, but over the course of a long game, that would have been exhausting. Nobody can be dommed that solidly for that long. You need a break, you know? So we settled on these very different styles, and I like it a lot. It's the first project I've been able to listen to and feel genuinely proud of without having to do some self-work.
I was going to ask, how do you find watching back the scenes?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it because it's been going for so long. I forget so much of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like geographically, I don't know where it all slots together because we weren't recording in order.
Yeah.
We just did whatever when it came through. So seeing it all come to life and being like, oh, that's what Gortash looks like, or that's what so-and-so looks like. Like, oh, it's really cool.
Polyfuckery. Is there a character you wish you had a bigger... Yeah, that's the name. Is there a character you wish you had a bigger part than they do? Also, please keep releasing outtakes. They make the world a better place.
I will keep releasing the outtakes. Okay. I don't know, because it's still such early days in watching it through. So I haven't seen all of the performances, and I certainly don't want to spoiler anything for anybody. All I will say is that there is one scene where you get to go to a brothel, and one of the choices in there is a lot of fun and very unexpected, and I wish there were more of those.
Very unexpected. That's a good word. Mission bar 3258. Is your narration ever unreliable, Amelia?
In real life or in this game?
In this game.
I mean, in this game, it is a version of the truth.
Oh.
Because sometimes it's like that's what makes it so fascinating, because sometimes there is literally tadpoley manipulation, and that's when we sunk back into that Scar from The Lion King kind of feel, where it's an unreliable narrator. I'm trying to manipulate you and I'm not being subtle.
No.
Like, and you know it and you can't stop it. Isn't this an awful feeling? You should totally snog a mind flare. This is safe. Like, that's always fun to play with, but the majority of the time I am their narrator. So it is reliable. But then how reliable are people?
I'd say 95% reliable. Oh, you reckon less?
It depends who you talk to. Everything's perspective, right?
True. Marketing Own 347. Not a question. Just wanted to say you are amazing as a narrator. Thank you for helping to make this game great. It's the most fun I've had in a video game in the last decade.
I'm going to have to hide under the desk in a minute. People are being too nice. I'm so glad that people are enjoying it, because really I was bracing for people to be like, why is woman telling me what to do? Or why aren't you Matthew Mercer? I love Matthew Mercer, by the way. Just getting that out there. I'm a critter through and through. But yeah, I was in no way prepared for any of this. And certainly not people being so kind and so lovely, because it's the internet and you don't expect that, really. It might help that I've got a picture of me stabbing a teddy bear as my Twitter profile picture.
I was going to ask,
maybe...
what is the origin of that picture?
That was taken when I got to 666 followers on Twitter, and I decided to take a picture to commemorate it. And apparently the way I chose to do that was stab a teddy in a pentagram made of gravy granules.
That is hilarious. Oh my God. How much would it cost to hire you to narrate my chickens for a day?
For a whole day? I don't know. Can you pay me in eggs? That could be useful. Like a lifetime supply of eggs. I reckon I could make that really financially unviable for that person.
I know you've got cameos, so you can.
Yeah.
If you ever want anything, guys, head over to Amelia's cameo, and she'll whip something up for you, eh?
I have been having so much fun recording cameo videos for people because they just want me to roast their friends.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's crazy.
I know.
It's like, would you read my friend to absolute filth, please? Yes, I will.
Pangloss Puffin. Were there any issues while narrating Baldur's Gate 3, such as burnout or voice issues? Did you ever?
A couple of times, yeah, voice issues. And I can hear it a couple of times. It's the only experience I've had of watching the game and being like, oh, I wish I could do that one again. For the most part, like 99.9%, I'm like, I wouldn't change it. I like that, which I've never felt about something I've done in any way ever.
Wow.
I'm a huge self-critic. Maybe it's just a statistics thing because this is such a big game.
Yeah.
So all the bits I don't like are so spread out. It's fine. Yeah. So that there are a couple of lines where I can hear that I was a bit ill, but it's only because I know my.
It's funny, no one else would know.
No, I definitely notice it. The only other, the only issues were really like physically. You hit winter time and the central heating goes on and everything gets a bit dry. So if you're not quite hydrated enough, that can be an issue. But yeah, once we'd found the voice for the narrator and settled into it, or one of the voices, it was just kind of, for the most part, smooth sailing.
This is a spoiler, Archbound. Guys, quick spoiler if you want to skip this part. How did you manage to say Cube Lube without laughing?
I didn't.
You didn't. Exactly.
I didn't say it without laughing. I laughed a lot, and then I said it, and then I laughed some more. There are so many things that just ruined me.
So crazy.
I mean, that's peak Larian, isn't it? Like, what would we use this for? Well, yeah, Cube Lube needs to be in their marketing for next year. That's a Christmas treat that everyone can enjoy, right? What to get the DM who has everything. Genuinely, I think they could sell that quite well.
Yeah, probably. You're probably right. Oh shit. Thor Vid 20. In which scenes would you have liked to put narration over that didn't get it?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I don't know. I'd have to watch them, honestly. I'd have to watch a lot more. But I think what I like about the way they've settled with the narration for as it is now is I only narrate things when you need them narrating. I'm giving you insight into what somebody else is thinking or how you're feeling or stuff that can't be shown physically. And if that doesn't need to happen, if it's all already visible, I shut the hell up. And I like that because that's what a DM would be doing. They would be describing this thing, and unless you need any more information, you just go, you'd play. I don't think I need to be in it any more than I am.
That's so selfless of you.
That's the thing, though. I never want to be like part of something more than I need to be. Like it has to hit that sweet spot of necessary.
You don't want to overextend.
Yeah. Like
no,
yes, I like spending time in the booth, and yeah, I like having a decent sized role, but I think I'm okay in this game. I think I'm in it enough.
I think you do all right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm there for a purpose. I don't think it serves anybody for me to be like all up in my own ego about it. Like I'm there to be the voice of the DM and help people have an adventure. It's not about me. It's the alto thing. It's you have fun. This is not for me.
Neenox Craft, did you also voice Malady in DOS 2?
Yeah.
You sure did.
Yes, I did. I love Malady so much. I would play her till the end of time.
What did you love so much about that character?
She was the first character I played that had my voice, like my natural, just, I remember getting the script through and going, I know instantly how I want to read this, and I really hope they let me. It was the first character where I felt like I didn't need to try. It just happened. She's powerful and confident and pretends that she doesn't give a shit about anything, and she's that character that comes in to keep people's egos in check when they think that they're the main character of a story. Like, oh, are you trying to romance me? That's adorable. You're level 2. And I've been fucking gods. So maybe wait a bit, maybe level up, maybe it's just not going to happen.
I need to play this game. I haven't played it.
Yeah, she doesn't come into it for quite a while.
Oh, okay.
But you can't. This is what Larry keep doing with me. I'm the voice of women that you cannot sleep with, but you can't progress the game without them. I don't. Is this some sort of advanced form of catfishing? I don't know. But she's really cool. If you try to kill her, she goes, "Don't," and then just vanishes.
Is that like an Easter egg little thing, or is that just?
No, that's just
no. It's just part of it.
When you first meet her, and if you try to stab her, she'll just tell you to fuck off and go away. Like that's. But I love that kind of character because she comes across as very strong and very otherworldly and very all powerful. There's something going on under the hood there, and some vulnerability there that she's hiding. Can't relate to that in any way. But it's really nice bringing that to life. And again, I wasn't like a main companion for that. I was a side character, but a pretty significant one. And it was really cool to see everybody's reaction to that. I've never been publicly recognized like that, I guess. That makes it sound different to how it actually is, but it's nice.
No, I understand. Yeah.
Like, see people going, I really wanted to romance her though, and I'm like, I know, I wanted to play her more. Like, we're both sobbing over this character at that stage. It was very cool.
Well, that you know you've done a good job then, don't you? When they're wanting more.
Yeah,
there's no better. I also wanted to talk about Sea of Thieves. What your memories are on that game? That's come a long way. That game over the years.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't really that long ago. I think that was during lockdown for sure. I mean, the whole world might not be locked down by that point, but I still was. I was working on so many projects during that period that I had to stay locked down for longer because otherwise I would mess up like 17 different production schedules if I got ill. So I've only just started to like go outside and go, this is a restaurant. I remember how to socialize. Yeah, that was really fun. I recorded all that from my home studio again.
You must have a sick studio. You must have one of them.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, it's always been a studio since I was 9, something like that. My mum had it as a studio before then, but it was kind of cobbled together. And then about 6 years ago, I want to say, I was just like, okay, this is my job now. This is what I do. And I want to make this good. And it was just after Mum had died as well. So there was a bit of an exorcism thing going on of like, I'm going to make this space my own so I can move forward with my career and not be sitting there trying to be creative while seeing ghosts, you know? Metaphorical ghosts. She wasn't literally haunting me, just my therapy sessions.
Do you prefer going into a studio or using your own booth?
Oh, that's a tough one. Like, if teleportation existed, I would go to an outside studio every single time. Like, I don't want to work from home.
Yeah.
I like the convenience of working from home, and certainly for something like Baldur's Gate 3, it was incredibly useful.
Yeah.
Saved me a fortune on transport. But I would always rather be in a room with people and not have to deal with the tech side of things at all, because engineers are amazing and I don't want to have to deal with that. I'm not a technician. I just want to focus on my thing. I would much rather be in a room with other people, but that's not the world now. And a lot of my clients live all over the world, and it's really cool to be able to work with one of them at the drop of a hat without them having to find budget for transport and hotels, which would never happen. So you get to work on a lot of really cool indie games that would never have had the budget for that otherwise.
That's really cool. Yeah. And Hades too, what can you tell us about that? Because that's a very anticipated game. I know you can't say much, but you have announced that you're in it.
Yeah.
And that's about all we can say.
Yeah, I'm in it. I play Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft, and that's kind of all I can say. Yeah. I mean, you've seen the trailer. That's her. She's got a great hat, and as people have pointed out, rippling abs. I wasn't expecting anybody to be thirsty for her. I should have known the Hades fan base a little better than that, but they're just like, I see a glimpse of abdomen, I am obsessed, which is it's really cool. All I will say is you are in for a treat.
Yeah, I can imagine.
If you like the first one, you are unprepared.
I can't wait. And do you have a message for the fans that have tuned in today, Amelia? Is there anything you wanted to pass on to them?
I can't think of them as fans. My brain just kind of goes, players.
Friends?
Players. Let's say players. They're not friends until they've helped me move furniture or something. That's strictly not true. Thank you for being so welcoming. Really, I was not expecting any of this, and the welcome that I've been given to this world and to TikTok and YouTube and everything else, this feels like a rebirth. I'm getting to pick which parts of my old life and which parts of my new life get to be squished together into whatever I do next, and it is really cool to know that there are a whole bunch of people who get me and who want to come along for the ride. So let's play.
Love it. And promise me you'll come back for Hades too, yeah? To the show.
Hell yeah. Absolutely.
Awesome. I'm really excited for that game. And look out for a stream, possibly. You might do a stream. I know you're streaming with your Jay, so I'll leave a link for that in the description. But yeah, you've got TikTok, Instagram, Twitter.
I've got a Twitch channel. I just haven't streamed on it
Twitch.
for a bit. Yeah, I've got all the things.
You got all the things.
I'll send you a bunch of links. It's fine.
Beautiful. Hey, is there anything before I let you go? Is there anything the narrator can say to Dan to wrap this up?
You close the stream with a sense of satisfaction. Your tadpole squirms. You're hungry. That's it. Go eat some food.
How'd you know I was hungry?
Look, the white streak and the witchy thing is not just an act, you know?
Yeah, I know.
I can literally read your mind. I am your narrator and you're hallucinating this entire interview. People are going to give you really weird looks when this goes online and half the screen's just empty.
Can you imagine? Oh, that's brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Amelia.
Thank you. This has been really fun.